Welcome to our video essay on JoJo and its creator Araki Hirohiko's creative philosophy, his artistic journey, and the fashion, music, films, food and places that inspired JoJo. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is an important part of the DNA of Japanese pop culture. Sold over 100 million copies in Japan since 1987. It has been made into animated series and live-action films. Keep making fans intrigued, amazed and moved for decades. It is unique in character design, composition, dialogue, and the use of onomatopoeia. It has become a worldwide popular culture phenomenon and inspiring generations of fans. JoJo's creator is Araki Hirohiko Sensei, a genius Japanese mangaka. He is an eclectic innovator. In this film, you can find Araki's creative ideas, philosophy, and his artistic journey, as well as the art, fashion, music, films, food and locations that inspired him and JoJo. Let's enter the wonderful world of Araki and JoJo. Araki Hirohiko, born Araki Ryuki, on the 7th of June 1960. In Wakarashi Sendai, Miyagi Prefecture. Araki's father is an office worker, his mother a housewife. His parents often chosen Western novels over Japanese tales as bedtime stories for the little ones. These became great inspirations to little Araki. Stories like Mark Twain's Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea deeply inspired Araki's imagination. Later Araki attributed his interest in foreign cultures, from music to food, all the way back to this time. While watching spaghetti western films with his father, Araki was drawn to Clint Eastwood's character. It became the symbol of the absolute hero in his heart. A male role model, independent, invincible, cool, without facial expression, a hero who seems to be able to overpower anything with his personality and charisma, while seemingly standing still. 20 years after this impact, Araki created his most famous character, Kyujo Jotaro. Araki finally met his hero Eastwood in 2012. In primary school, Araki practiced baseball and joined the school's kendo department. After being inspired by the manga I'm Teepee, he has twin sisters used to bully him at the time, so he often hide and read manga. Since childhood, Araki likes to immerse himself in his own world. He started drawing manga since he was 6. His favorite works are Sanpei Lato's Ninja History manga, The Legend of Kamu, Ikikajiwara's Star of the Giants, Kajiwara's Aita Makoto, Mr. Yokoyama's Exploration of the Ancient World. Babel II was described by Araki as My Origin. It later influenced the themes of JoJo's third part. His father's collection of art books, including French painter Paul Gauguin's, had great influence on young Araki. We can see Gauguin's bold color sensibility on many of Araki's artworks. His favorite books includes Edogawa, Rambo, and Sherlock Holmes. Sensei Araki said in his book, JoJo 6251, "When I was a child, the mangas I drew are mostly about muscle men fighting villains." Manga was just a hobby for Araki as a child. He didn't think that he was going to do it for a living, and kept it a secret. The best way to break into the manga industry in Japan was winning manga awards. In middle school, Araki's paintings were praised by more and more students, so he worked up the courage to post works to manga magazines, but without any success. Then an idea came up. He wanted to create an intriguingly original work that attracts the reader from page 1. and he chose his familiar spaghetti western setting. This later became the prototype for his manga Poker Underarms. The young Araki took the manuscript to the mecca of manga, Shonen Jump magazine, at Tokyo's Shueisha headquarters. Only one young editor agreed to meet him briefly that day, but as soon as he opened the manuscript, the editor started pointing out the irrationalities. Every turn of the page came a new round of criticism. But this meeting actually turned out to be a decisive turning point in Araki's career. The editor's name was Ryosuke Honashima, the man who would later become Araki's long-term manga editor. A very creative collaborator, he was instrumental in bringing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to the world, and its decades of success. After this meeting, Araki refined the work he brought in. In 1980, at the age of 20, Araki's Poker Underarms won him the second prize and 100k yen in the Tezuka Award, Shonen Jump magazine's Young Mangaka Award. Although that Araki's painting style was yet to be matured, but its expressive and exaggerated movements revealed his unique style. After making his debut Poker Underarms in Shonen Jump in 81, Araki created Cool Shock BT in late 82. It was the beginning of the Battle of Wits fighting style, which featured later in JoJo, but it didn't fit the mainstream manga taste of the time. With its low popularity, it had to be cancelled by the editors. Master Tezuka Osamu once suggested that young Araki must move to Tokyo to get his career going. In 1984, Araki who moved to Tokyo and wrote Bara, which lasted 2 volumes. Can you find the resemblance to Star Platinum in this? After a long period of creative difficulties, on the 2nd of December, 1986, a legend is born. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was started in the Weekly Shonen Jump's first and second double issue of 1987. At the time, industry insiders said it was excellent, but won't last for more than 10 weeks. However, it became the masterpiece that has published more than 100 million copies over the past 3 decades. Araki Sensei said he wanted to create JoJo because he wanted to draw something different to the likes of Osamu Tezuka, Tezuo Chiba, or Katsuhiro Otomo, these masters that he often read. Looking back, there were so many talented mangakas in the 70s and 80s. And it was also a time of new forms of music and fashion. It was a very good time for my career, and for creating JoJo. From the start of the series, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has the theme of Ode to Human Spirit. In a sense, it is regarded as a symbol of the shonen manga spirit. Written on the cover flap of the first book of JoJo, Araki says it is a consistent theme runs through the series. He explains in the book Araki's manga in theory and practice. I wrote this sentence without too much thought. I prefer to say that the characters are following their own path. They don't need mechanical weapons, nor helps from the gods to save them. This is exactly what the author wants to celebrate, the triumph of human spirit that runs through JoJo. The Golden Spirit. Heritage is also a theme that runs through JoJo. Now that I think about it, I know what led me to this theme. Araki said, "My grandfather passed away when the series started. The loss of a loved one makes me feel everyone will leave one day, but one's descendants will inherit what is left to them." The concept of family and generation was inspired by films such as East of Eden and The Godfather. Araki said, "Firstly, of course, JoJo is the battle of good and evil. I also wanted it to work as a story of family legacy, which is influenced by the above-mentioned factors. JoJo was initially influenced by Tetsuo Hara and Fist of the North Star." Araki said, "Tetsuo is my friend, and we often eat together. He revolutionized the representation of the human body in the manga, and it influenced me in that way, especially in JoJo Part 1. For example, the physicality and visual effects of men in combats. However, the style changed in the later period. Although it was deeply influenced by Tetsuo and North Star, it was not an orthodox martial arts manga. Simply showing the basics of an offensive versus defensive duel is not as important here. Special abilities and the surrounding environment are more important in JoJo, especially after the introduction of the stand concept in the third part of the series. The idea that each character has their unique special abilities had a profound influence on the future of Japanese manga. How the concept of Hamon and stand came about. We imagine Hamon as an indirect force. Araki said, "If I hit calm water, it will indirectly affect the surrounding environment because of the residual ripples." Regarding the concept of stand, in itself it may be hard for Westerners to understand. Araki continues, "It comes from the Shinto religious concept of we are eternally protected by the spirit of our ancestors. I'm not a Shintoist myself, but I know a lot about Japanese culture and philosophy, so I've been influenced by them." On the topic of hero and protagonist, Araki said, "For me a hero must be in a sense pure. At least that's what I think. He can look evil, dangerous and suffering, but his heart is pure, and never lies, never attacks women and children. These are the main characteristics of a hero." The heroic sacrifices of many popular characters in JoJo created many memorable and moving moments. In order to protect, a true hero sacrifices himself, even if the result is less than expected. This is also a legacy of Japanese philosophy. Araki continues, "An honest and merciful hero who seeks nothing in return but to save others. The more tragical his sacrifice is, the more valuable his sacrifice is." Meanwhile, JoJo's villains, with their unique charisma and twisted philosophy, have captivated generations of fans. Araki said, "Even villains have motives for their actions, and they always try to justify their behavior. We should show our readers the background that drove these people to the dark side." Onomatopoeia on the pages is also a unique style of Araki and JoJo's. The use of unique onomatopoeic words in intense scenes to express psychological state brings unique tension and three-dimensional sense to the pages. He also let characters shout out the name of their moves. This is influenced by Masami Kurumada. Talk about JoJo, can't do without JoJo pose and JoJo's ubiquitous modern fashion influences. Characters often display extremely exaggerated and distorted body postures.
ここまで人間ってひねれるなと思ったら漫画はもうちょっとひねるんですよ。
It was inspired by Renaissance sculpture and fashion photography and illustrations. Also voguing, an LGBTQ subculture that originated in New York. Araki drew inspirations from fashion photography and illustrations, and the poses of models. Fashion illustrators Tony Villamont and Antonio Lopez must be mentioned. Their fashion illustrations have the flamboyant androgynous and cool decadence of the 80s new wave. Their reinterpretation of the typically masculine male image for a softer, more feminine style broadens the boundaries of male identity. Araki was inspired greatly by this. Caesar Zeppeli, with his larger-than-life blonde hair and headband, recalls the new romantic style of the 80s. The two-color triangle patterns is undoubtedly from Antonio Lopez's works, designed for Missoni. Araki himself also has created several advertising illustrations and original short manga for Gucci. Sensei Araki is well known as a fan of Western rock and pop music, using artists and song titles to name characters and stands. Araki said in a recent interview, "I listen to music and feel the musicians' ideas, their fashion aesthetics, and their views of the world." This is a topic worth a whole episode. If you're interested in a video dedicated to JoJo and music, Then let us know in the comments below. Exotic locations also runs through Giorgio. In his early work Sparrow, a reader sent him a letter to point out a mistake of the location of the story. Araki reflected, manga must be based on real experiences. Hanamichi, the aforementioned editor, also suggested to Araki that he take a trip abroad, particularly to Europe. At that time, Araki was in a confused period of his career. The trip to Europe became a life-changing experience for him. The proceeds from his early works allowed the young Araki to travel overseas for the first time. It was after a trip to the UK that made him decided to set the first Giorgio in this country. He set the story in the Victorian time because he loves the atmosphere of Sherlock Holmes. Araki said that after he started serializing Giorgio, I tried my best to go and take a look at the places that the story is set in. Later he also visited Egypt and India. But Italy may have had the biggest impact on Araki. Araki described his impact from his first trip to Rome, saying, "In Italy, I was enlightened." He was fascinated by the great art of the Renaissance. Thinking about how to use manga to present the unique beauty of body shape. Many compositions in Giorgio are based on classical works of that time. In part 2, especially in part 5, which directly moved the scenes to many parts of Italy, visits to Italy made his work full of vitality. Pompeii, Venice, and the Rome Colosseum all came to life. Even the names of many characters come from Italian food, and Giorgio is often joked as gastronomic manga. What's Araki sensei like outside of Giorgio and manga? 20 years ago, he met his future wife Asami when they both went to support their own friend's blind date. Araki made strange sounds with his mouth when he was nervous. Asami laughed and said, "I thought, what a strange man he is. Now I have to get his phone number, or I might never get to meet this guy again." They started dating at a swimming pool and married just 3 months later. Now they are parents of 2 daughters. Araki is also a huge fan of the movies. He has published 2 books of film essays. Here are some of his favorite horror and thriller movies for your reference. Sensei Araki is also a fan of magic shows. Yeah, I never miss a magic show in Japan. Lance Burton, David Copperfield. I was very interested in trying to decipher how they did it, and that inspired me. Now the legend of Araki's eternal youth, over 60 but still looks youthful. It became a meme, and many fans lovingly calls him the ultimate life form. Araki once said, "Maybe washing my face with Tokyo tap water every day had given me nice and healthy skin." Araki has a strict work and rest schedule, getting up at 10 in the morning. On Sundays draws the storyboard and finish the work from Monday to Thursday, then have Fridays and Saturdays off, never staying up late. This habit lasted for more than a decade. Giorgio Part 8, Giorgiolian, was completed in 2021. Araki created a poster for the Tokyo Olympic Paralympic Games. The hotly anticipated Part 6 Stone Ocean anime is streaming now. Let's look forward to the new chapter of this masterpiece, Giorgio's 9th part, Giorgio Lands.